Here we go with the warm-up for today. So make sure you have yours answered and are ready to check your work. With number 1, since we're solving the systems of equations, remember we now have 3 methods: graphing, substitution, and elimination. Graphing, again, usually you only pick that method when they tell you to. Substitution, you're looking for that variable by itself or very close to it. And elimination, you're looking for your x's and y's to be lined up. So in number 1, the x's and y's are lined up. So we look for a pair of opposites. We don't start out with any, so that means we're going to have to make our own. So we can either make the x's or the y's the opposite. I'm going to look at my x's, and I notice that to turn that 3x into a 6x, I could multiply by 2. Since I want them to be opposites, I'm going to multiply by -2. We're going to multiply the entire equation times -2. Now, I'm going to write that equation right below. So the 3x becomes a -6x. The -2y, when I multiply that times -2, becomes a +4y. And then I multiply the 4 times -2, which is -8. So now I'm going to add these equations together. The x's are what we made opposites, but in that process it also made the y's opposites. So when they both cancel, I'm going to put that 0 here. 9 plus -8, well, that's 1. Well, since the variables cancel, that means I have one of my special solutions. So it's either no solution or infinitely many. Since 0 does not equal 1, that means it would be no solution. Moving over to number 2. Again, the variables are lined up, so we're looking at another elimination problem. With this one, there's no opposites to start with. I can turn these into opposites by multiplying this by a 2, because it's already negative. These have the same number, so they're pretty close to being opposites. So I would just have to multiply either one of them by a -1. Both ways work. I'm going to choose the route of multiplying the top one times 2. If you did the 3's and you multiplied one by -1, your end answer should still be the same. So when I multiply this top equation by -2, or by +2, sorry, -2 times 2 is -4x. Then 3y times 2, well, that's 6y. And then 6 times 2, that's 12. Add these together. The x's cancel. 3y plus 6y is 9y. 18 plus 12 is 30. Divide by 9. Y is equal to 30 over 9. If we need to simplify this, divide them both by 3, which is what they have in common, I would get 10 over 3. Now, if you type that into your calculator, you're going to get a repeating decimal, which means if you tried to write that, you wouldn't be exact. So we're going to leave it as 10/3. So now we plug that back into either equation. I'm going to choose the bottom one because it's all positive. If you wanted to choose this one because the x was smaller, you could do that, but I'm going to stick away from that negative. So it's 4x plus 3 times what y is, which is 10 over 3, equals 18. Well, to multiply 3 times 10 over 3, I'm going to put a 1 underneath it. Now, some of you are going to notice that the 3's are going to cancel, and if you do, that's great. If you don't notice that, you could go 3 times 10, which is 30, over 1 times 3, which is 3, and 30 divided by 3 takes us back to 10. So again, the canceling says, I notice that these are the same. So now I have 4x plus 10 over 1, which would just be 10, equals 18. So now we solve for x, which means we subtract 10. So 4x equals 8. Divide by 4. X equals 2. So my solution for this, the ordered pair, would be 2 comma 10 over 3. And again, please do not write that as a decimal. We want to be exact. Here are your 5 homework problems. Let me zoom in just a little bit more here. Number 1, your answer is 3, negative 2. The best thing to do would have been to take the top equation and multiply it by 3. You also could have multiplied the top by 5 and the bottom by 2 to make your x's cancel, but that would have taken more work. Number 2, if you multiplied the top one by negative 2, that would have made your x's cancel, and you got 6, negative 2. Number 3, I would multiply the bottom by negative 2. You also could have multiplied the top by 2 and the bottom by 3 to make your y's cancel. And number 4, I would make your x's match since they're already opposites. So multiplying the top by 2 and the bottom by 3 to get 3, 1. So go ahead, take a moment, look through 1 through 4, check all your work, and then unpause this so we can talk about number 5. On number 5, this is going to have that type of problem. I told you need to know this formula, and that formula is for the perimeter of a rectangle. So perimeter is P equals 2L plus 2W, but we know the perimeter is 56, so that means 2L plus 2W equals 56. We then also know that the length of the rectangle is 8 inches more than the width, so L is, which is equals 8 more than the width, 8 plus W. Now, even though this one is in the elimination section, really and truly it's set up for substitution since we know what L is, so that's the route I went. You could have moved the W over in order to line it up like this, but I think that would have been more work. And you ended up with an answer of a width of 10 and a length of 18. So you can finish checking that work for the substitution problem that I did here. Today in class, you're going to practice elimination a little bit more. So you're going to be working on page 310, 7 through 15. You can check with your neighbors as you go along. If you need to, you can finish this for homework. You probably are going to want to show some work on a separate sheet of paper.